Welcome back to Inspired Siren. Today we have dual purposes. One is the background, which you'll be seeing played, in which I was playing the Tiny Bookshop demo. I pretty immediately wishlisted this when I saw it come out, but after just playing the demo for I think I played for 20 minutes or something. It is such a sweet, cozy, like not pressure, but there's still fun challenges. It's beautiful. The art style of this game is just right up my alley of it's not necessarily realistic, but it's realistic enough, and it's kind of artsy and really beautiful, and it's filled with characters. So as I'm talking, you will be seeing me playing this in the background. Highly recommend. There's currently a demo on Steam, so if you want to check it out, go ahead. I recommend it. But the other reason I wanted to make this video was I have all these books piling up in my head, and it's kind of the end of winter. We might be getting some cold snaps where I am. I wanted to give you all a few books to read. So I've got 10 books today to just do a quick talk through. There won't be really any spoilers, but lots of different types of books, and I thought the background of playing the Tiny Bookshop demo would be the perfect for this purpose. So let's jump into it. The first book on my list is A Million Junes. Now, this book was written by Emily Henry, who's a really popular romance author and a really good author in general, but this book is much different than what I would say her regular, most popular books. You go to a bookstore, you see all of those Emily Henry books. This one is more of magic. There's a magic twist. The world is really interesting and wonderful, and it's got different elements. It's a little bit of a Romeo and Juliet story, kind of those vibes, but with a modern twist. It also carries so much emotional and character depth, which is really one of the strengths of all of Emily Henry books, in my opinion. And this is no different. While it is technically a YA book, I would say, it doesn't have any spice, but it has all of the depth and the characters of Emily Henry's books, which you get really attached to them. You're really interested in what's going on in their lives. Now, I'm sorry if you can hear my kitty crying. She wants attention, but don't worry. She is not at all in need. She just wants attention. Now, A Million Junes does also include some grief and loss, so just be mindful of that. But I think it's really worth a read. So, second book on our list is Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmer, I think is how you say her last name. I could be pronouncing some of these names wrong, so give me some grace there. But this book is kind of an invitation into the slowness and mindfulness of our beautiful earth. The author has a really interesting mix of, she's a scientist and has all this scientific background, but she also has the indigenous wisdom kind of coming through being an indigenous person. And it's all kind of mixed together in a really unique way. I've read some books from one perspective and some from another, and this is just this great mishmash of that. It's a breath of fresh air and just such beautiful art in written form. This book might be one of the most meaningful reads I've ever done, and I am so grateful to have learned and shared in her offered words. I think this would be especially beautiful right now as the seasons are changing. It just really built my appreciation for the earth back up, which I think I have, but I guess for some reason I forgot a little bit. And it 100% recommend Braiding Sweetgrass. A really, really sweet, beautiful, wonderful read. She does have a second book called Gathering Moss, which I have not read yet, but I think I maybe did read it a long time ago, but something about Braiding Sweetgrass specifically really stuck with me. Number 3 on our list is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. This is such a quirky novel. it's one of those books that I picked up because it was available at the library, and I don't know, the cover looked interesting, and um I will say this one does not shy away from the effects of trauma and like the life of someone who's been through trauma, especially at the hands of their mother. So a little bit of a trigger warning for that. There isn't any like actual like trauma or violence really shown within. It's kind of just like alluded and hinted to. But it shows like with some of these like quirky relationships, the depth of kindness and human connection and the healing aspect of relationships, which I absolutely loved. So I I would normally have not picked this up, but I'm not even sure how to place it like genre wise, but I adored it and it was a really unique read. So, if you're looking for something that's maybe a little bit more unique and maybe something you wouldn't normally read and has like some elements of human nature and relationships, but is like sweet, I highly recommend it. Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. And also, like, what a funny, quirky title. The next one on our list, I think we're on number 4, is Maisie Dobbs by Jacqueline Winspear. Now, this is a series. There is, I don't know, I think there's like 10 or something of the Maisie Dobbs novels. But it's kind of a historical fiction meets badass woman detective in the 1920s through World War II. So, like, lots of big major world events kind of got that historical fiction vibe. Um, while it is a series, I've read maybe 3 or 4 of them, and I honestly think you could read any of them standalone. Like, that is, like, it wouldn't, you wouldn't have trouble with it. But I do really like reading them in order because there's just some characters that kind of flow through that you don't really need to know for the actual story, but just add a layer of depth. If you love to read a book where a mystery unfolds and you try and follow along the clues along with the author, and it's like trying to figure out, a whodunit vibe, this series would be really good for you. If you like Sherlock Holmes, but also want like an aspect of a sprinkle of feminism thrown in there, if you will, this series is for you. And the next on our list, where are we on? 5, I think? I'm going to lose count by the end of this, but there's going to be 10 total. Is the book called The Maid and the Crocodile by Jordan Ufueko. I might be saying that wrong. I might have touched on this book in the past. This is, I've read this book maybe a year ago and it's still like spinning around in my mind. It's like a fantastical, spiritual fiction book set in a West African inspired world created by the author. I read it as a standalone, but I believe that there are other books also set in this world by the same author. And this is by far the most unique book I have ever read. And the world building and like imagery within this book is unrivaled. I mean, it's so interesting. And that could be that I just need to really work on reading more diverse books. But I like just this, oh my gosh, I can't even describe the uniqueness of this book and how like in my eyes, in my eyeballs. I don't know. This is how I'm describing this book. It was in my eyeballs and it was so good. So if you're looking to be more active in reading like diverse works of art, the author is Nigerian American, this book is for you. And the next book in our series is The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. And now these are technically, I think, a science fiction trilogy, like children's books or like young teens or something like that. But I immensely enjoyed it, and you don't have to not read children's books if you're an adult, because you know what, you do you and you do what works for you. And it was such a sweet and simple read. It doesn't feel like the stakes are too high, but there's still adventure and story. I would say if you have a stressful job and you love like animals and like quirky relationships, like if you've ever watched a YouTube video where the like whale is friends with the golden retriever or something like that. This is like this sci-fi children's vibe. That's for you. Um, could be a nice escape if you have a really stressful job. It's sweet. I can't remember because I read them successively, like 1, 2, 3 in a row, but I think you could probably just read one. Um, Anywho, moving on. So the next book on our list, again, I have lost count now. I think maybe we're on like 6 or 7. Who knows? But the book is called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by, I'm going to butcher this name and I'm going to try. Lori Gottlieb? I'm not 100% sure. Sorry for people who actually know how to say that name. But this is the only nonfiction book that I have on this list. It's a memoir, but it follows the story of a therapist and their patients and some of the different perspectives. The stories and the heart of the author almost make it feel like you kind of go along with the characters in the book, and kind of, I don't know, hearing their stories is just it's something this book really made me think and feel. And something about it felt really special. It is, I think, nonfiction memoir. So if that's not regularly your style, which it's not regularly my style, it might not be your favorite. But this one, it just like, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It was really interesting and like such a sweet read. Just felt really special. And the next book on our list is The Faculty Lounge by Jennifer Matthew. This is another oddball book that I found at the library that was just like available, and I was like, okay, I'll just like check it out. Who knows what's gonna happen when I read this book. But I like pretty immediately fell in love with it. It's kind of like interconnected stories and perspectives of public school teachers and their kind of brush with death when one of the older characters, this isn't really a spoiler, this is kind of like the whole book, one of the older characters dies in the faculty lounge, and hence the name. It almost seems like it would be mundane and kind of like an everyday topic. Like, it's just public school. It's like people that work in a public school, but I don't know, there's like something about it that's like, it's kind of funny and charming. And I am also a sucker for books that show you multiple perspectives, and kind of like you get to see the event from different perspectives. You get to see like other quirky things like the PTA like mom, the typical PTA mom from different perspectives. And you get snippets of these people's lives at school and at home. And yeah, it was like oddly charming. Second to last book on our list, A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers. This is technically the second book in what I believe is a 4-book series. Don't quote me on that. But I read it as a standalone, and it's 100% fine to read it as a standalone. Especially if you're, you want to just have one book to read and then you want to be done. It's kind of like a sci-fi look at artificial intelligence and humans colliding. This book, interestingly, felt so cozy and slow to read, but I also didn't want to put it down, which feels a little bit contradicting, but it was just something about it. It was slow and calm and cozy, but I was still really invested. Which I think, in this world, maybe we just need some breaks with books like that. I have not read the other books in the series, so I don't know if my opinion would change, especially because a large part of the series, you kind of go in blind as this AI that I think was in the previous books, but I think totally fine to read as a standalone, and some of the better like character development that I've read. And last but not least, certainly not least, is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong. Now, this book was absolutely phenomenal. My opinion is especially like given our current political and social landscape, this is an especially touching and felt really relevant. I will say this book is not light. So if you're wanting a book that's like a cozy read, I probably wouldn't pick this. But I would also say that if you only read one book this year and you just want have a freaking wild ride, this is the book for you. It had it had a twist that was so shocking that I sat up in bed and like woke my husband up and was like, "Oh my god, I have to tell you about this book." And then I jibber jabbered for 10 minutes or so about how crazy this shocking twist of this book was. And this author, I am now reading a different book by her, The Sword of Kaigan, but Blood Over Brighthaven. I don't know. I think it's maybe her second book, but she has this way of bringing you so far into your work that it's almost as like you're living it, you exist in it. It's insane. Like all of the emotions that you're expecting these characters to feel, she has this way of bringing them into you. She could be my favorite author of all time. This is definitely my favorite book of all time. So if you have one book, if you have time for one book, please read this one. We've got fantasy, political tension, humanity. I don't even know how to accurately describe it, but it is a mind-blowing book. Top tier, S tier, as the children would say these days. Highly recommend. Pick that one up. So that is my 10 books that you could be reading. I was anticipating doing this in 10 minutes, but I see on my timer it's been 16. So I did my best, you know. I'm a bit of a wild card when it comes to talking. So these books, all wonderful, all different. I highly recommend you pick them up, as well as this tiny bookshop game. So sweet, so beautiful. 100% recommend picking it up. It's immediately gone on my wish list. And also, all of these games often have demos. So, you know, check out our free resources and our free existence. The library, demos on Steam. You do not have to spend a lot of money to have like fun and explore some like of these more like sweet and creative, cozy aspects of life. So all that to say, I hope you enjoyed the video today. I was trying to do a little bit of a different thing today, getting some books without spoilers, getting this beautiful demo up. So thank you for tuning into Inspired Siren. If you leave me a comment, it will make my day. If you want to follow along, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.